3 bone-chilling babysitter horror stories that will haunt your dreams forever. The clock struck midnight, its cold chime echoing through the empty house. Sam glanced at the darkened windows, heart pounding. He was babysitting for the Petersons, but something felt very wrong tonight. Outside, shadows danced under the flickering streetlight, stretching and shrieking like restless spirits. Just hours ago, the kids were tucked in, but now silence reigned, thick and oppressive. Sam couldn't shake the sense that someone was watching him, then it hit him, a strange rustling sound from upstairs. It wasn't from the kids, they were sound asleep. His gut twisted. He glanced around the living room, the shadows morphing into sinister shapes. His breath quickened. What if it was just the wind? Or maybe a loose window? But the air was still, too still. The anxiety prickled at his skin like ice. Halfway through scrolling through his phone for distraction, his heart lurched as the front door creaked open. He could have sworn he locked it. A bead of sweat rolled down the side of his face. No way to use his phone, the battery drained mysteriously, just like the fear creeping up his spine. He could hear the faint patter of footsteps from upstairs. They were slow, deliberate, like someone testing the floorboards. Sam's hands trembled as he tried to calm his rapid breathing. This is nothing, he told himself, but then came the chilling giggle, echoing from the hallway, insistent and taunting. It wasn't the laughter of children, it came from somewhere deeper, darker. He could feel it crawling into his mind like spiders weaving a web of dread. What was that? Sam whispered, eyes darting to the staircase. Darkness swirled around him, thickening like fog. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Sam's instinct screamed at him to run, yet something rooted him in place. The sound grew louder, creeping closer, accompanied by that hideous laughter that tore through the silence like a knife. He mustered every ounce of courage, steeling himself as he stepped towards the staircase. Each creak of the floorboard sounded like an alarm to the monster lurking above. What would he find in the shadows? Would it be the innocent faces of 2 sleeping kids or something altogether more terrifying? As he reached the top, the giggle erupted into a cacophony of hysteria. Sam's heart felt like it would leap out of his chest. A dark silhouette appeared at the end of the hallway, a figure just beyond the edge of light. In that moment, time froze. It was someone, something, waiting, but why? What lay hidden in the fog of uncertainty, ready to strike? Sam was about to discover the truth, but could he handle it? The question remained. Sam's heart raced as he struggled to breathe, every instinct telling him to flee. But his legs felt like lead, rooted to the cold floor in paralyzing fear. The figure loomed, and a creeping dread twisted his stomach like a vice. He couldn't make out its features, but he felt its gaze boring into him, piercing through the shadows. Is anyone there? He croaked, his voice barely above a whisper. The silhouette shifted but didn't answer. Instead, it took a slow step forward, its movements unnaturally smooth, like a marionette dancing on invisible strings. The giggle returned, louder this time, echoing off the walls like a morbid melody. Sam's breath hitched in his throat, panic surged through him. He took a small step backward, then another. Suddenly, the laughter morphed into a chilling wail that sent shockwaves through his body. He turned and bolted down the hallway, desperate to escape whatever haunted presence awaited him. He dashed towards the children's room. As he flung the door open, he was met with the sight of the 2 kids, still nestled in their beds, sound asleep. Their peaceful faces contrasted sharply with the horror surrounding him. For a fleeting moment, he felt an incredible sigh of relief. They were safe, for now, but the haunting laughter continued, echoing from behind him. He needed a plan. Glancing at the room, he spotted the nightstand where the parents had left a flashlight. He dove towards it, fumbling through the dark until he finally grabbed the cold, heavy metal. With shaky hands, he flicked it on, light piercing through the shadows. The beam illuminated the hallway and flickered back to the silhouette. It hadn't moved. Sam's adrenaline kicked in, and he took a cautious step closer. The light fell across the figure, a childlike form, but distorted. Its movements were jerky, twitching slightly as it peered at him with eyes like black holes, devoid of any warmth or humanity. In that moment, he realized it wasn't a child at all. It was a twisted version of something innocent, an abomination that played on the fears of its prey. A chill cascaded down his spine. "Leave!" he shouted, voice shaking with defiance. The form merely tilted its head, a sickening smile stretching across its face, too big for its small frame. "Play with me," it whispered, the voice syrupy sweet yet laced with malice. Sam grasped the flashlight tighter, lungs constricting. The children were still asleep, oblivious. But was this thing there to protect them or to lure him into its snare? He took another step back, instinct urging him to check on the kids again. Nothing was more important than their safety. Fearing that if he turned his back, the thing would strike, Sam's gaze darted between the darkened hallway and the children, now in possible danger. "Wake up! Please, wake up!" he called out, desperation spilling into his tone. The sound of the wailing laughter grew louder, filling the air as shadows thickened around him. Then, silence fell abruptly, like an executioner's blade slicing through tension. The oppressive atmosphere wrapped around him, stifling. Something shifted in the dim light of presence, signaling that his time was running out. Now caught in a terrifying countdown, Sam knew he had only moments left. The choice was stark, fight or flee. What horror lay waiting just beyond his flashlight's reach? What command did this creature hold over the children? The darkness beckoned, hungry and waiting. The question loomed larger than ever: could Sam save them all, or would he be the next victim? Time was running out. Fear gripped Sam like a vice, freezing him in place. The shadows seemed to thicken, curling around the edges of his vision, obscuring any sense of safety. The laughter had vanished, but the remnants of it echoed in his mind, a sinister reminder of the terror lurking just out of sight. He took a tentative step toward the children. His breath came in short gasps, heart hammering against his rib cage. "Wake up!" he shouted again, urgency lacing his voice. He edged closer, scanning their serene faces for any sign of danger creeping into their dreams. They needed him to protect them, to shield them from whatever twisted nightmare had invaded their home. As he drew nearer, he felt the cold grasp of dread transform into a primal instinct to act. He raised the flashlight, its beam cutting through the dark like a blade. Light flooded the room, and for a moment, everything felt safe and still. But as quick as hope surged, it was snatched away. Out of the corner of his eye, he glimpsed movement. Whipping around, he aimed the flashlight down the hall. The figure remained there, just beyond the periphery of the beam, a grotesque childlike form, still and watching. The sight sent shockwaves through him, a knot tightening in his stomach. Who, or what, was it? "Why are you doing this?" he demanded, but his voice quivered, betraying his panic. The creature's smile widened on its pale face, a grin stitched with malevolence. The moment felt electric, tension crackling in the air. "Play," it hissed again, voice twisting and dancing around the syllables. The whisper slithered into his ears, coaxing him to come closer. "Play with us." "No." Sam barked, anger flaring through fear. "I want to let you hurt them." The words tumbled out of him, fueled by desperation. He pivoted back toward the children, uncertainty gnawing at him. But dread washed over him, crashing like waves. What if they remained oblivious while the creature fed off his fear? Suddenly, a thud echoed from behind, jolting Sam back to the moment. He spun around. Two more figures had emerged, slipping silently from the shadows, their features indistinct yet unmistakably twisted. His skin crawled as realization dawned on him: they were not alone. Time slowed. The faces were familiar, reminiscent of the children, but contorted into nightmare caricatures of innocence. They advanced, arms outstretched, ready for mischief, or worse. "Play with us," the original figure beckoned, its eyes burning into Sam's soul. Why were they calling out to him? Why did they seem so entranced? Sam's gut twisted. They looked like the children, but released from the captivity of their staid lives, succumbed to something demonic and dark. Torn between instinct and hope, he knew he had to act fast. He stumbled back, light flickering with his shaken grip. Could he guide the children back from the brink, or were they lost to him? The waltz of shadows danced ominously around them, a pulse of dread in the air. "Get away from them!" he yelled, but a crushing weight of despair fogged his thoughts. The barrier between safety and nightmare blurred. Could he save them before the darkness claimed them as its own? In that moment of decision, a realization struck Sam hard. What if the answer to this nightmare lay not just in flight, but in understanding what this thing truly wanted? But understanding might come with a price he wasn't sure he was willing to pay. With panic rising anew, he realized he had one final chance to confront the horror, or to run and hope it wouldn't be too late. Where would the dark depths of this game lead him? Would the sacrifice of understanding save them all, or would it seal their fate forever? The air in the room thickened with tension. Sam's heart raced as he weighed his options. The creatures before him, twisted reflections of the children he loved, were approaching, their faces melting into caricatures of joy and malice. Before he could take another step, the edges of his vision darkened. He felt as if the darkness itself reached out to him, crawling along his skin like ice. "Play!" that voice echoed again, a sinister melody that wrapped around his mind and tightened like a noose. Sam shook his head, trying to shake off the spell, but it was too late. Doubt crept in like a thief in the night, gnawing at his resolve. What if he was the one who needed to play? As if sensing his hesitation, the figures paused. They tilted their heads slightly, smiles too wide for their faces, a grotesque puzzle of innocence warped with sinister intent. "Play with us," they chimed, a haunting chorus ringing in his ears. Desperation clawed at him. He recalled the tales of ancient fears brought to life, of children who became something else in the dark. "No!" he shouted, his voice trembling but defiant, "You're not my kids. You're not real." Their laughter turned cold, slicing through the air. "We are what you fear, we are what you deny." They advanced, moving fluidly, as if skimming across the floor, and a wave of paralysis washed over Sam. He stumbled back, heart pounding in chaos. His flashlight flickered ominously, the beam threatening to die. In that moment of uncertainty, a memory sparked inside him, a childhood game, one that he and the children had played many times before. Perhaps it was worth a shot, a diversion to stall them, to buy time. "Okay," he shouted, desperation fueling his words. "Let us play." "What do you want to play?" Their eyes widened slightly. "What do you want to play?" the lead figure asked, its grin never fading but slightly relaxing, as if intrigued by the prospect. "Hide and seek," Sam blurted, his mind racing. "You count, and I'll hide, and if I find you, you'll let the kids go." It was a gamble, but he knew he had to keep their attention. "Hide and seek," they whispered in unison, repetitively, like a wind chime swaying in a storm. For a heartbeat, time stopped. The creatures stood still, their laughter transformed into a haunting, echoing sound that filled every crevice of the room. "Count to 20. Sam commanded, hoping to sow chaos in their ranks, hoping desperate measures could bend the rules they were playing. 1, 2 the lead creature began, its voice lilting eerily as it started to count. Sam's instincts kicked in. With a quick glance at the children, he realized he had seconds, maybe moments, before the figures reached 20. He shot toward the nearest window, fumbling with it, heart racing. Could he get them out? Could he wake them in time? With each slow chant of the numbers behind him, it felt like the darkness tightened its grip, urging him to panic. The cold nipped at his back, and every ounce of bravery he had was pouring out as he pushed against the window. 3-4 he could see outside to the darkened street, an escape route lying just beyond the glass. But would he leave the children? The thought made him churn with guilt. If he fled, what would happen to them? 1718 panic surged as he yanked the window open, but it creaked ominously as it revealed the world beyond, a world that felt more threatening than the one he left behind. With only a moment to decide, he turned back. 20. The air crackled, and the creature's spirits seemed to lift. Ready or not, here we come. Spinning around, their eyes glowed brighter, searching the room. Sam felt every heartbeat echo in his ears. Play is just beginning. The shadowy figures started their hunt in earnest, and a frigid dread gripped Sam as he realized the game he tried to play was far more dangerous than he had imagined. What would they do if they found him? What game had he truly unleashed? As the first of the figures darted toward him, a plan formed in his mind, a last-ditch effort for a chance to save everyone. But would he have the courage to follow through? With seconds ticking away, he had to choose, and fast. His fate, and theirs, hung in the balance. Sam's heart thundered as he backed away from the advancing figures. Their laughter had shifted to a predatory growl, a sound that grated against his nerves. He was trapped in a nightmare, forced to play a game he had no hope of winning. The walls seemed to pulse, closing in around him with the weight of the shadows dancing just beyond the feeble beam of his flashlight. Each flicker of light felt like borrowed time. Where will you hide? The lead creature sang, its voice a chilling echo of familiarity that clawed at his sanity. It was almost as if it relished the game, the chase, the thrill of the hunt. Sam's eyes darted around the room, searching for any hint of an escape route or a place to hide. The children lay still, blissfully unaware of the horror choreographed just beyond their dreams. As the figures advanced, he spotted an old wardrobe in the corner, its painted surface peeling, but potentially offering some refuge. He had to take the chance. With a deep breath, he lunged toward it, thoughts of the children flooding his mind. If he could distract them long enough, maybe he could snatch them from the jaws of this insidious game. 15-16 They gathered in a huddle, ripping through the air with their sharp giggles, voices laced with mock excitement. He dove behind the wardrobe, pressing his body against the cold wood, his breath shallow and rapid. From his cramped hiding space, he could hear the whispers of the creatures growing louder, echoing in a way that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Where is he? We will find him, we will play. The acoustic frenzy of their delight made him feel ill. Sam forced himself to remain silent, to think of nothing but the children's faces. He couldn't let them down. If he could just buy enough time. 1718 The wardrobe door creaked, likely the weight of inevitability. The beam of the flashlight escaped a momentary flicker. He had to move. He strained to listen, trying to gauge their proximity, but the air was thick with a strange, unnatural feeling that soured his stomach. Are you hiding? Mocked the lead creature. Let us see how clever you are. Its voice sent shivers through him. Sam's mind raced. If the creatures could sniff out fear, his pounding heart might as well be a bright neon sign. He needed to lure them away, to give the children a chance to wake. With another deep breath, he made a decision. He eased himself forward just enough to have a clear line of sight. In a whisper, he called out, "Hey! Over here!" Staying low, he pushed a small stuffed animal he had found near the window out from his hiding spot, hoping it would catch their attention. In an instant, their heads pivoted towards the noise, their smiles stretching impossibly wide. "Did you hear that?" one said, eyes glinting with a frightening delight. "We caught something. Let us go." With their attention diverted, Sam slipped out of the wardrobe, heart racing again as he glanced at the children. They remained still, remnants of innocence, but he had to lead the shadows away. "Come on," he murmured urgently, but the fear gripped him. Would they wake? The moment felt fleeting. He dashed for the door, a raw urgency burning in his chest. But the moment he reached for the handle, he hesitated, feeling the chilling grip of shadows creeping close behind him. Before he could fully process what was happening, the creatures screamed, a sound that distorted reality sharp and horrible. You can't hide forever. They sang in malicious unison, the darkness curling at their feet like a living thing. Sam's blood turned to ice. His plan was unraveling. Was there even a way out? Doubt consumed him as he stood at the threshold, the weight of his choices heavy on his shoulders. The figures were closing in again. Maybe there was still a chance to save the kids, but how? His mind raced for the next move, the next game, but time was in their hands now. Behind him, from beyond the threshold, he sensed the chilling approach of shrieks that promised something far worse than mere discovery. Could he face them again, just? Outside the door, shadows danced, eager to claim what they desired most. And all Sam could do was hold his breath. The door creaked ominously as Sam hesitated, his hand hovering over the handle. The laughter of the creatures swallowed the room like a thick fog, isolating him in a palpable dread. Each heartbeat echoed in his ears like a stopwatch ticking down, counting the moments until he too would become just another part of their twisted game. In one desperate surge, he flung the door open, his heart pounding as if to overpower the sinister sounds that pulsed through the air. A rush of stale air hit him, thick with the scent of decay, and the creatures turned as one, their grotesque faces skimming the edges of the shadows. The flickering beam from his flashlight caught a whiff of their jagged teeth, shiny and sharp, hungry. "Did you think we wouldn't find you?" The lead creature drawled, its voice dripping with malicious pleasure. Sam took a shaky step back, surveying the compromise between fight and flight. The children were still wrapped in the blanket of oblivion, oblivious to the devastation circling them like vultures at a feast. Fear twisted in his gut, propelling him into action. "Run!" He heard himself shout, the command breaking raw from his throat, more primal than he realized. He turned toward the hallway, oblivious to where it might lead, but every instinct screamed to flee. "Don't let him escape!" One creature shrieked, the sound reverberating off the walls, igniting a raw urge for survival. Sam felt the rush of air against his back as they started to chase him, feet pounding like thunder behind him. The narrow hallway stretched out like a tunnel of shadows. Doorways loomed like gaping maws, each one threatening to swallow him whole. He could hear their laughter, a dissonant chant of malice growing ever closer. Each step felt heavier, doubt layering itself like concrete in his veins. That he rounded a corner and barged into what seemed to be the living room. His teeth clenched as he scanned the room for an escape. Furniture lay scattered, blocking a direct exit, but there was a window at the far end, barely visible through the haze of dim lighting. He bolted for it, praying for deliverance. With a surge of adrenaline, he threw himself toward the window, desperate hands grasping at the frame. Glass shards glinted in the dim light, dancing maliciously as his fingers skated over the edges. A fragment cut deep, sending a sharp jolt of pain up his arm, but he shoved the thought aside, focusing only on freedom. "Got you!" One creature laughed behind him, its voice a sinister melody that made his skin itch. Sam managed to yank the window open just as a cold shadow fell across his back. He could feel its breath, hot and fetid, snaking up his spine like a serpent poised to strike. In one desperate motion, he clambered out of the frame, skin torn and raw, hope igniting within him. The cool night air hit his face as he landed on the ground with a thud. But freedom came at a cost. "Don't let him go!" came the command, slew of feet pounding toward him. He stumbled forward, blind panic driving his limbs, the grass crunching beneath his feet as he fled. Laughter filled the air, now mingled with anger, fueling his drive. Just as he dared to glance back, shadows coalesced at the window, the creatures clawing like wild animals hungry for fresh meat. "Where do you think you're going?" Their mocking tones echoed through the darkness. Sam's soul seized as they spilled out into the night, their forms morphing with each movement. He had no time to think, only to run, each breath stinging his lungs. Panic guided him toward the thicket of trees beyond the yard, beyond their realm, but as he plunged into the darkness, a chilling thought pierced his mind. What would happen to the children if he failed? What new horrors would they unleash upon the innocent? He ran, but the weight of their laughter followed him, echoing in his brain. Behind him, shadows danced, eager, relentless. Could he ever truly escape their grasp? The darkness wrapped around Sam like a suffocating blanket, the shadows of the trees twisting and turning into monstrous forms as he dashed between the trunks. He pushed himself forward, stumbling over the uneven ground, branches snapping underfoot like fragile bones. Each step felt like a countdown to disaster, and he could hear the chaos he had left behind spiraling out of control. Faster. He urged himself, his lungs burning, clawing for the fresh air of freedom. Each breath tasted stale, filled with the scent of damp earth and something far more sinister like fear clinging to the night itself. The laughter pursued him, chilling his blood. It wove in and out of the trees, taunting him from the foliage, making him dizzy with fright. A part of him was desperate for a glance back, to see how close they were, but dread held him in a vice grip. There would be no turning back. Not now. Suddenly, the ground beneath him shifted. Sam screamed as he stumbled, falling into a hollow. It was a small pit, cradled by roots and darkened by patches of murky water. He fought against the thick mud, trying to push himself up, but it dragged at him like the creatures themselves. "Look what we have here." A voice echoed from above, saturated with glee. The lead creature leaned over the edge, its sharp grin glinting through the gloom. "Trying to hide? That's adorable." Panic bubbled up inside him. Sam clawed at the edges, but the pit was steep, the roots slippery from rain. In his frantic attempt to escape, he lost his grip and slipped back down, the pit swallowing him whole. "Don't worry," the creature continued, amusement lacing its tone. "We're known for our generosity. We don't just play games, we make promises." Each word was a knife, twisting in his gut. What promises? What games did they play with children? The very idea sent new jolts of fear coursing through him. If he was doomed, what fate awaited the ones he had tried to protect? He finally managed to grip a thick root with both hands, pulling himself back up. As he emerged from the pit, mud smeared across his body. He quickly scanned his surroundings. The creatures were circling the rim above him, eyes glinting like feral cats. Sam searched for a way out, scanning the trees, desperate. And then he saw a small break in the forest, a faint glow like a beacon in the distance. "Get him!" One of the creatures hollered as it lunged forward, but Sam was already sprinting. Adrenaline surged through him, pushing him forward, his instincts screaming to move. He could hear the rustle of leaves behind him and the heavy thud of their feet pounding the earth as they chased him. As he broke into the clearing, his heart sank at the sight ahead. An old, abandoned house crouched ominously against the night sky, its windows black and lifeless. But it was his only option. With no choice, he dashed inside, the door creaking under his weight. Darkness enveloped him, thick and suffocating. The air was stale and smelled faintly of rot. "Hide!" a voice whispered from the shadows, startling him. Sam froze, his heart hammering against his ribcage. Who was there? There wasn't time to think. He darted deeper into the house, each room he entered taunted by silence, stretching the tension tight. He pressed himself against a wall, trying to slow his breathing, listening closely for any sign of his pursuers. Just as he thought he might find some safety, a hand clamped on his shoulder. "Did you think you could hide from us?" It was the voice of the lead creature, low and soaked in malice. Sam jolted, turning to face whatever horror awaited him, but as he did, the shadows around him flickered, revealing more than he could have imagined. What had he walked into? In the stillness, questions loomed larger than the darkness. Would he find allies or enemies in this haunted place? Would he remain trapped in their sinister game, or could he turn the tide? Their laughter echoed still, but now it mingled with whispers of those who had come before. The house seemed alive. What else lingered in its depths? The moment Sam turned, the creature's face was a nightmarish blend of shadows and teeth. Its grin stretched impossibly wide, the glint of its eyes reflecting the faint glow from a dying lantern on the wall. Sam felt his breath hitch. This was no mere pursuer, this was a predator reveling in the thrill of the hunt. "Welcome to our humble abode," the creature said, voice dripping with dark delight. "We were wondering when you'd join us." "Get away from me." Sam stumbled backward, fear pushing him into a defensive stance. The air buzzed with tension as the other creatures began to fill the doorway, their movements fluid and menacing. He had hoped for sanctuary but found only a pack of wolves. The room was littered with remnants of a life long forgotten, faded photographs, tattered curtains fluttering like ghosts in a miserable wind. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter trapped between walls, the joyful chirps of children replaced by the eerie silence of neglect. As the creatures advanced, Sam needed a plan. His instincts screamed at him to flee, but the narrowness of the room denied him an easy escape. Instead, he focused on the shadows around him. He remembered the whispers that had warned him to hide. "Where are your friends?" the lead creature taunted, taking a confident step closer. "They can't save you now." "Maybe they can't," Sam replied, summoning a courage he didn't know he had. "But you're not the only one playing games." With that, he lunged for the lantern on the wall and swung it with all his might. The glass shattered, the flames igniting with a sudden rage as they sprayed across the wallpaper, catching on the edges of the old furniture. The creatures shrieked, their glee replaced by shock as they stumbled back into the hallway, the light flames casting eerie shadows that danced and flickered like restless spirits. "Fool!" the lead creature screeched amidst the chaos. "You'll regret this." Sam took his chance. He sprinted through the doorway, dodging the clawing hands reaching for him. The house seemed alive, shifting and creaking, pushing him towards freedom. He barreled down a decaying staircase, the wood groaning under his weight. "Where are you going?" The laughter rang out behind him, echoing off the walls, following him into the depths of the house. Fear clawed at his back as he descended deeper into darkness. At the bottom, he found himself in a dank cellar. The musty smell enveloped him, mingling with the dampness of the ground beneath his feet. He could hear the raging laughter now muffled but still relentless. He needed to hide. He ducked behind a towering stack of old crates, the splintered wood scratching at his skin but providing a moment of cover. Heart pounding, he strained to listen. What lay beyond the shadows? Were they regrouping? Plotting? The laughter morphed into a chant, a sinister, rhythmic echo that filled the cellar. Sam clenched his fists, dread pooling in his stomach as he realized he wasn't just hiding from the dark, they were summoning something. "Come play with us, Sam." That's when he noticed. Amidst the piles of debris, glimmers of something sharp caught his eye, a machete, rusty but perhaps salvageable. Hope surged through him as he reached for it, his fingers wrapping around the cool metal, but, with a sudden crash, the cellar door burst open. The creatures poured down, their eyes shining like reflecting glass. Sam clasped the machete tightly, readying himself against the onslaught. Would he become prey? Would he stand for freedom? His heart raced, knowing the choice he faced in the moments that fluttered like trapped butterflies. And then the lead creature spoke again, its voice like dripping venom. Time to end the game. Sam took a deep breath, knowing that this would define him. Could he turn this haunted corner into a refuge, or would it seal his fate? As they closed in, he wondered, would he be the hero or a mere pawn in their dark play? The ground shook as he stepped into the light of action, machete raised. What horrors awaited him in this last stand? Sam's heart thundered in his chest as the creatures advanced, their movements almost hypnotic in their deadly elegance. He could feel the weight of the machete in his hands, a borrowed strength that felt foreign yet empowering. Every instinct screamed for him to run, but there was a flicker of defiance within him that wouldn't he let go. "Do it!" the lead creature hissed, its breath hot and fetid. "Strike! Show us your desperation." He tightened his grip, feeling the roughness of the blade against his skin. With a burst of courage, he lunged forward, swinging wildly. The machete cut through the air with a sharp whoosh, striking one of the creatures. It shrieked, a sound that sent chills racing down Sam's spine, and pulled back as a dark stain blossomed on its shoulder. But it wasn't enough. The other creatures descended onto him, their claws outstretched, talons glinting in the near darkness. "You think you're brave, don't you?" one of them mocked. "But bravery won't save you." They darted around him, their grotesque forms weaving through the shadows. Sam's breath quickened, sweat beading on his brow as he desperately swung the machete again. A wave of panic surged inside him. He was fighting against darkness that thrived on fear. I won't give in. He shouted, though the sound was swallowed by the chaotic laughter echoing through the cellar. With every frantic attempt to fend off the creatures, their cackles grew louder, a maddening symphony of dread surrounding him. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, he spotted a dimly lit corner of the cellar where it seemed the darkness pulled back. Perhaps a way out. Summoning every ounce of determination, Sam bolted towards that patch of light, keeping the machete poised defensively. The creatures roared in fury, realizing his movement too late. They lunged, but he dove past the last hesitant arms grabbing at him, hitting the ground hard. The air around that glowing corner felt electric. It was a narrow opening, just big enough for him to slip through. Scrambling, he pushed himself deeper, feeling the coolness of the earth on his skin as he squeezed inside. He thought he had escaped, but as he caught his breath, the laughter faded into silence, leaving behind a dreadful stillness. Sam peeked through the cracks of his refuge, heart racing. Was he truly safe? Then he heard it. A whisper, chilling and seductive. You can't hide, Sam. We always find you. A wave of nausea washed over him. They were waiting. They knew he was close, and the hunt was just beginning. It was a sick game, taunting him like a child with a toy, fluttering between hope and despair. Emboldened by fear, he slid further into the tight space, ignoring the older crates splintering under his weight. The silence made his mind race. What were they planning? Was there anything he could do to turn this dread into a victory? Outside, the creatures murmured, plotting amidst the darkness. Sam's chest tightened as he breathed in the musty air. The only weapon he had felt so small against the chaos brewing just beyond his hiding place. Sam. We will play till dawn, the lead voice crooned ominously. You will not escape. With trembling hands, he gripped the machete tighter, pondering his next move. A plan started to form within the chaos of his mind. If he could outsmart them, maybe he could find freedom, or at least a glimmer of hope to hang on to, but without perfect timing, darkness would swallow him whole. What would he sacrifice for survival? He took a shaky breath, realizing he couldn't remain trapped forever. Every heartbeat was a reminder of his own mortality, a countdown echoing in the silence. The creature's chant grew louder, sharper. They were calling to something, or someone, and Sam felt it deep within. Whatever it was, it would arrive soon. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of the nightmare. The time had come to confront the unspeakable darkness that lingered above him. Sam's heart raced heavy in his chest, each thud felt like a clock ticking down to a grim fate. He couldn't stay holed up any longer, hiding from the sinister beings that toyed with him from outside. With a trembling breath, he prepared himself, focusing on the flicker of hope still alive in his gut. Enough is enough, he whispered fiercely to himself. This ends tonight. With determination cutting through the fog of fear, Sam crawled deeper into the shadows, away from the laughter that echoed in a maddening rhythm beyond the opening. The whispers around the cellar became a frantic chanting. It felt like the very walls were vibrating. He steadied his grip on the machete, its weight now a source of comfort rather than fear. As he pressed against the damp earth, he could feel the breath of the creatures, hot and eager, just beyond reach, waiting for him to lose hope. The darkness beckoned to him, but he knew that inside that dark temptation was his salvation, the answer to liberate the children from their malevolent grasp. Sam, oh, Sam, the lead creature's voice sang, sinuous and inviting, come play with us. Forever he bit his lip, fighting the urge to peek outside. Instead, he drew upon something deep inside, a childhood game once filled with laughter and joy. This twisted echo of innocence became his shield against despair. Closing his eyes, he imagined the children safe in their beds, the way their laughter lit up the room. That was his anchor, his motivation to fight back, not just for his freedom. Sam glanced toward the broken crates scattered in the corner. If he could create a diversion, maybe he could draw them away, just enough to rescue the children. He searched the darkness, mind racing for anything he could use. Just behind an old barrel, he found a rusted pipe long and solid. The thrill of the potential plan sent a wave of adrenaline washing over him. His heart in his throat, Sam pulled the pipe into his grasp, gripping it like a promise. He had to lure them in, he had to make them think he was trapped, waiting for the end to consume him. With fortitude rising, he scrambled closer to the opening, taking a deep breath. "Hey!" he called, voice roaring into the chilling darkness. "You think you've won? I'm here. Come and get me." Silence followed his challenge, thick and palpable. Instinctively, he prepared himself, positioning the machete at the ready, nerves electric. The creatures paused, befuddled by his sudden brazen defiance. A sliver of hope sparked in his spirit as that moment of distraction unveiled itself. The shadows shifted, confusion crept across their distorted faces. It was the opening he needed. Before the lead creature could reorganize its menacing pack, Sam darted out of his hiding spot, heart pounding with every step. He lunged toward the staircase, twisting the pipe behind him in a calculated move. "You'll never get me!" he shouted, swinging the pipe wildly as he raced up the steps 2 at a time. "I'm not your game piece." A fury of shrieks filled the air behind him. The creatures were more intent, ravenous for revenge. He bolted up the stairs, smashing his way through the door at the top, adrenaline surging. With renewed urgency, he ran into the eerie remnants of the living room, memories colliding with the unrelenting reality, and there, flickering like a distant star, was the faint glow of the children's nightlight from their room. With no hesitation, he sprinted toward it, heart racing. Every step closer felt fueled by desperation. He needed to save them. As he reached their door, panic surged through him. "Wake up! Please, get up!" His voice broke as he shoved the door open wide. He rushed inside, seeing their peaceful faces nestled against the pillows, but fear clutched at him. Would they wake? "Wake up!" he repeated, a stark urgency in each word, softly gathering them into his arms, shaking them gently. "Please wake up." It was a moment that felt fleeting, and then the children stirred, their eyes fluttering open just as the chilling echo of laughter trailed in behind him. Sam barely had a moment to catch his breath as the twisted forms lunged at the doorway. "Run!" he shouted. "Get out!" Before he could finish, the creatures poured into the room, malicious joy glistening in their cruel eyes. But this time, Sam was ready. Channeling everything left within him, he swung the machete wide, feeling the rush of his pulse drown out the darkness around him. "Leave them alone!" he yelled fiercely. The creatures hissed, their eyes narrowing as his blade met them with fierce resolve and the very essence of life locked within it. They recoiled, their twisted bodies writhing in shock. That flicker of courage ignited a spark of chaos, a blinding light pushing against the oppressive shadows. In that moment, the children, awakened by his desperation, jumped from their beds, wide-eyed and trembling. Sam could see the flicker of innocence and bravery stirring inside them, his resolve stripped away the weight of their nightmares. "Follow me!" he shouted, herding them toward the window, the only path to hope. Together, they dove through the cracked glass, escaping into the frigid night surrounded by darkness. They landed in a heap, breathless, relief flooding through him as he glanced back just in time to see the shadows recoil, unable to breach the barrier of light spilling out from the home. The force that had consumed that space cleared, leaving silence in its wake. Sam's chest heaved as he pulled the children close. They huddled together, shaken but alive, the bonds of trust forged anew in the fire of horror. "We did it," he whispered, chest tightening as he secured them against him. As dawn broke across the horizon, the darkness dissipated, revealing the chill of morning light. The terrifying laughter that once echoed through the air lay silent, replaced by the fresh breaths of a renewed day. "Let us go home," Sam breathed, holding the children tightly, gratitude swelling within him. They stood together, united in both survival and defiance, ready to leave the shadows behind forever. And as they ventured back into the light, the promise of safety ignited something within him. Their world would forever be marked by this night, but together they would rebuild, fortified against the fears that haunted them. And with new determination, they would face whatever came next. Before we end this, it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you don't miss any more heart-pounding stories like this. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Let's get this out to everyone who needs this thrill. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories. What did you think of Sam's journey? Let us get discussing. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who crave this kind of excitement. Your support makes all the difference. Let's make this community bigger and better together. Go ahead, hit that share button.